Hello, welcome back to Chess the James Way. Last upload was not too long ago, and today we are going to be looking at three games that I played from an real life tournament. So these are very, very rare. So I was very excited and kind of nervous. So let's jump into the first game and see what happened. Uh, Oops, little spoiler. Okay, so in this game I was black, and game went e4, and a little bit of context. Um, yeah, I don't really know anything about this opponent. So I played c5, and um, we get this closed Sicilian, and I think what I should have done from like a round one like game theory strategy is just to take the bishop because that gives me two bishops, and that makes it easier to play for a win. Because my opponent's about 1600, so a little bit lower rated, but instead I played what I would normally play, which is also just completely fine. So, kind of a theme in this game, and like a general theme in these games, is my opponents, except for the second game, my opponents didn't really play very threatening moves. As you can see, my opponent like went bishop g5 and all the way back to d2, which doesn't really do anything, and nor does it improve their position. So, as black, I already have a very comfortable position, and I've basically already equalized. Okay, now f3. This is probably okay, but it's not very clear what White's plan is. While for me, I'm going to play bishop b7, activate my pieces, and try to play for d5 at some point. So we get queen c2, activate my rook. My opponent plays a3, kind of scared of ghosts. I don't really want to play b4. Instead, a4 would probably be better for my opponent, but a3 just kind of doesn't do anything. So I continue to improve my pieces, reroute the horsey to one of these squares. My opponent plays bishop to e3, and I jump in with the horse. My opponent goes queen to d2, which is kind of suspicious. I guess it has some ideas. Maybe White wants to save the bishop like this or attack these pawn, but none of those work because if White moves the bishop, then I get this fork anyways, and if they take, then I just take, and then this bishop is going to be free. So what I do is I play d5. I finally get d5, and after it takes, I take the bishop. Now I have two bishops. And now, it's not winning or anything close to that, but this is very, very comfortable. I have a nice bishop on the long diagonal. This bishop's on the long diagonal, and I'll try to play for this d-file. So White drops back. We continue to shuffle around, and now my opponent starts to do some weird things with his rook. Again, just a little bit more of shuffling, which just allows me to improve my position. Okay, this was kind of a mistake. I low-key missed bishop b6, but my opponent did too, and then somehow he did the move after to not win a pawn, which was kind of weird. So like I touched my a pawn, and then I realized that it would be kind of like a mistake, and then I went to hit the clock, but then I realized that my opponent did not hit their clock. So I was like, okay, well, you have to hit your clock. And then I started thinking, I was like, okay, well, he didn't actually finish his move. Do I still have to play a5? And so then I was trying to think, okay, is a5 okay? Like if I play a5 and I see bishop b6, like is it still an okay position? And eventually I was like, okay, it's not that deep. I just played a5 anyway, and he missed it. So it was all good. And then I proceeded to move my queen over here. This doesn't really do much except for make room for the bishop, because I would rather have the bishop on one of these two squares. It also like kind of stops his rook from activating because this rook would be hanging. So we get f4, kind of a last-ditch attempt to do something. But unfortunately this bishop's kind of in no man's land, and these pieces are kind of tied up and not doing much. So I go bishop c4, and finally I get this nice combo where I threaten checkmate, and then I get this nice fork. And my opponent has one last trick here, taking back with the rook. So with black, take a second to pause, and how can you find a nice tactic here to win the game quickly? So if you said bishop d4, congratulations, you've made the game a lot more complicated, because if you saw takes and taking the queen, you are correct, but unfortunately, White can promote to a queen themselves, and now you're in a lot of trouble, because White has just made a new queen and is going to recapture your rook eventually. So instead, I just went bishop f6, and after rook e1, now the rook is no longer going to be guarding this promotion square, so now I can play bishop d4, and the game ends quickly after that. So that was a nice first game in about 14 months. So it feels good to win that one, and now let's go to the next game. Okay, so this game I'm playing with the, I'm playing with the white pieces, and I start with e4. I've played this opponent before, in round 3 of the 2024 Idaho closed. So if you can dig into that on my YouTube channel, then you can look at that game as well. It was the same opening, except this time I decided to take the knight instead to play like a different line and just like play a new game because this is like less steadied in general. And my opponent kind of makes a slight mistake with c5 and tries to trade pawns like this. However, there are 2 undefended pieces, so I get a nice fork. Okay, so my opponent does the right thing and decides to trade the rook for my dark squared bishop because that's going to make her dark squared bishop a lot stronger. What I should have done here is instead of being greedy and taking the rook in the corner, I should have played knight to b5 because this would force the queen back. And after bishop c4 and castles, this would be just a really, really good position. My other rook's going to come in, and the king can't really castle because it would drop this important pawn. So this would be really, really comfortable, and thinking back, I'd much rather have this position than just being up in exchange and having to deal with this really strong bishop in the center. So I kind of got too greedy here, and not only did I get too greedy, I also kind of forgot to save my queen, and the queen ends up getting kind of trapped. As you can see, the queen has no squares to come back. So after a few more moves, I find myself in this very suspicious predicament where my opponent finds this really good move d5, and now her plan is to move the king somewhere, probably castle, and then after the knight moves, the queen's going to have no squares to go to, so I have to go desperation mode to try to save the princess from like the tower or whatever it's called, like damsel in distress. Yeah, save Princess Peach from Bowser's whatever it's called. So okay, Super Mario to c4. Take, and then instead of castling, bishop takes b2 would be better, but it's kind of medium ball knowledge why it's better, so I'll just skip over that. Okay, we get this anyways, and now check. I move the king, and this is already getting kind of uncomfortable. The queen's kind of sliding in, and as you can see, my pieces are like really, really bad, and her pieces aren't that great either, but they can develop very logically, and mine cannot. So this is kind of getting very difficult to play already. So I try to bring my queen back. Unfortunately, this is a really strong check, and my king can only go to 2 spaces. This looks really bad, but I kind of have to, because if I go here, then after bishop c3, black's going to open up the file, and then my king's just going to get cooked. So we get queen e2, queen back to c2, and this is like, if you think about it, if you pause the video and think about like how these 3 pieces interact, it's really, really bad, because if the queen moves, then the rook drops, if the knight moves, the queen drops, and if the rook moves, then the knight's unprotected. And so this bishop and queen just kind of cooks my entire position. I have to go here, and now it's also really uncomfortable because I can't try to trade queens like this, because then the bishop just takes enough too. I have to take with the rook, and then I lose my queen. This is a really, really annoying position, and I was not feeling very good right now. So I go back to c1, and here my opponent could have basically won the game, or like gotten a very close to winning position if she just played rook c8, because this forces my queen to trade like this. However, after this, this is a pin, and it looks like I can protect the knight, but I can't actually recapture because of the ice skater on the back rank. So if I were to take, then we get a check, and this would be a checkmate, and I would lose the game. So that's very, very dangerous. Luckily, my opponent didn't see that and took the pawn instead, and now I have time to basically try to improve my pieces. So my opponent moves the queen to the queen side, which is kind of good for me. If she kept it on the king side, it would have been a lot more problematic, because then she can just put all her pieces onto attacking my king, which is in this like kind of 960 or Fisher random position, except I can't castle my king like this. So I try h4 to activate my other rook. This is kind of a bell curve meme, like beginners playing h4 to activate the rook, and then the intermediate players are like, no, don't play h4. But now me, which is like slightly on the right, it's like play h4 to activate the rook. Computer gives it a mistake, but like I just have to activate my pieces, so I don't really care. Okay, so we get knight e4, queen f4, knight c3, a good try to fork me, but knight goes back to cover the square. And now my opponent starts getting low on time, which is good for me, and I start to activate my pieces, and all of a sudden, a few inaccurate moves, and from both of us, but black is technically still down in exchange, so now I'm actually just able to activate my pieces and realize my material advantage. So eventually, my opponent makes a mistake, and then I get this nice pin, and all my pieces just get activated, and eventually am able to escape from that very very sick torture chamber, which was this king in between the two rooks, like this. You never want to be in this position. It's really, really bad. All right, so I got kind of lucky in the second game, and now let's go on to the third game, which is like this. Okay, so I'm black in this third game, and this game started at. Never mind. Okay, well, it started a few hours ago, and spoiler alert, it finished kind of quickly. So the other guys are still playing right now, which is pretty nice for me. I get an extra break. Okay, so we got this thing. I don't really care. I don't really bother with opening names anymore. And okay, and again, my opponent kind of plays just doesn't really put that much pressure on me in the opening, and I get kind of a comfortable position off the bat. Okay, and he does now play e4 upon breaking the center, and we just get a bunch of trades. I attack the queen, and my opponent makes kind of an inaccuracy here by taking the knight. Obviously, if I take it back, then this is going to be a free pawn, but I do not have to take this bishop. I can take the other bishop instead, and now I'm still attacking white's bishop. And now my opponent plays a pretty significant mistake, rook to e1. So he's attacking the queen, which is danger levels, a bigger threat. But I'm also attacking his bishop, so take a minute to pause to see what you do with black. And if you found bishop takes f2, congratulations, that is a brilliant move. And like me, I also played this move. And the point is that it's a sacrifice, but it's a clearance sacrifice, because once the king takes, we get queen to c5 check, escaping the attack of the rook and attacking the king at the same time, so that white doesn't have time to save the bishop. And after I take with the b pawn, my opponent just resigned. And it was kind of surprising, but it's also kind of valid because, like, what is he even supposed to do? I took with this pawn to open up the bishop on h6, and this is a very, very nasty check. So my opponent just either, like, didn't see how to defend against it or just didn't like the options. Like, after this, I would just check. And then after rook here, it just gets really, really hard to maintain. And he just didn't want to play anymore, which is fair. And that's good for me, too, because now I get an extra rest before tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and comment any questions that you have. Oh yeah, I just finished my freshman year at college, so and that was really fun. And yeah, comment any questions that you have, or about these games, or about anything else, and I'll do my best to answer every single one. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.